You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
The wheel is turning and you can't slow down. You can't let go and you can't hold on. You can't go back.
Hello and welcome back into my wheelhouse. Today is August 27th, almost into September. Football season is just on the verge of beginning. The NBA season, I believe, is exactly 50 days away. Before we get to the wheel, Mike Sloan, what's going on, gentlemen?
What's going on?
Some exciting news developments that we're going to get to eventually on the wheel, mostly talking about recapping some rules that were introduced with the NCAA and the NBA. We'll do some predictions for some of the awards, not all the awards. But before we get to that, I wanted to mention Kyrie Irving and his sister got welcomed in by the Sioux tribe in North Dakota. Kyrie got donned the little mountain.
I like his uniform.
Got welcomed into his. It's good to welcome your heritage and stuff like that. He clearly was very passionate about it, so it's good to see him happy about that.
That's cool.
But how do you walk? How do you move? Does it look like?
He looks healthy.
I heard Rozier was in town. He's starting to put together some 5-on-5 games. I'm wondering whether they're going to include Kyrie or Hayward in the 5-on-5 games.
It's pretty interesting. A quick thing on that. So that's obviously a huge topic of summer basketball in general. Are these video clips that we get of no matter how legitimate or not illegitimate they are, we recently saw KD playing in games with Bradley Beal. We saw Andre Drummond and stuff. And everyone's just discounting them, saying like, oh, this doesn't matter. They're playing against a bunch of nobodies in a gym. But in reality, they're actually, it's most of the time, 8 to 10 of the players out of the 10 are NBA players. So I think it's interesting what you can see from this, because if you watch enough of this game footage, you can see what players are hoping to input into their games. Kind of similar to what you see in like a summer league type of setting.
They want to
what
run.
You don't normally have.
Just like any other player, they want to run and they want good competition when they have the run. They all used to gravitate, as much as I don't like them, to Carmelo, because Carmelo used to. I guess.
That type of style and overall his aura in terms of the comparison to the younger players.
Scary Terry's looking to put together 5-on-5s with the Celtics crew, and I'm wondering whether Kyrie or Hayward are going to show up. Are they ready?
I don't know. Maybe.
Scary Terry's doing a lot of boxing. I've seen a lot of Instagram video of him keeping in shape.
The other mystery I want to know how much Zion Williamson weighs. I got to know that. They're saying 285 with Zion.
Strong.
Who did I mess up last year? I had somebody I said wrong all year, but Zion.
You do that all the time. It doesn't matter. Say however you want.
I was looking at one today. The guy was calling. He was trying to make himself an authority on everything. He's calling Rudy Gobert Gobert. He kept going Gobert. I'm saying, how am I supposed to believe what you're saying?
The NBA Defensive Player of the Year, you should probably get that one right.
Well, anyways, if he's not 285, I want to know, because 285 would be the most conditioned, in shape 285 to ever play the game of basketball.
Yes, it would be.
But he's not 285.
But I mean, he could be. My guess would be closer to 260.
Probably 260.
So who's the guy? There's only one guy in the NBA that weighs more than 285.
Boban.
Who is it?
Boban.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the only guy in the NBA that weighs more than that.
Only guy that weighs more than 285.
Well, I got to know. So I mean, it's.
We'll find out in the draft count combine, which is a year away. But
they'll actually weigh him.
They weigh him, and the actual weight comes in. Okay. Although he could just say no, I don't want to come to the combine. So maybe we won't find out.
Who's the heaviest player to ever play in the NBA?
Sean Kemp.
Tractor trailer.
Probably Robert Traylor or the Big O.
Oliver. Sean Kemp was Oliver Miller.
Oliver Miller. He was probably the fattest.
Oliver Miller's big. There's some big guys.
I'll have to research that. For the next big three.
The next big three. You got to do heaviest guys.
Maybe next week.
He had a lot on him. I mean, he wasn't fat, but he.
I don't think so. He was too scrawny. A couple more things before the wheel. What do you got?
Manu Ginobili retired.
That's right. Yeah, Manu Ginobili.
It was just announced like an hour ago.
14 seasons in the league. A 4-time champion. He won Olympic gold in 2004. That surprised Argentina championship over the USA. A 2-time All-Star. He was the 2007-2008 Sixth Man of the Year in that season. He averaged like 25-5. One of the best European players to ever play the game. One of the best
left-hander. Hall of Famer.
Yep, one of the best left-handers to ever play the game. Basically,
He
popularized the Euro step. It could be called the Ginobili step if they wanted to call it that.
I wish the Celtics
doesn't really flow off
the
tip of the tongue.
Clearly, he doesn't want to be taken anywhere.
But that really turns the page on San Antonio in terms
Lonnie
of
Walker, he's in. Throw him in some minutes.
DeJounte Murray, it really opens the door for all these guys.
Yeah, there's going to be they got an interesting season coming up. All their veterans that were synonymous with that legacy of this last 15 plus years.
He was a guy that I kind of hated, but I loved to hate him.
Who?
Ginobili. I didn't hate him because I didn't like his game. I hated him because he was so annoying. But he tried to be annoying. He got
He's a pest.
He got under everybody's skin.
Yeah.
In a good way, though.
He was so good at taking over the game right when you needed him to.
Not like Lance Stevenson.
I mean,
he did it from hustle and
as a young NBA fan, I always detest the Spurs because of their Duncan and the Tony Parker and the Boris Diaw and other role players. But I always love Manu, and he has so many moments that stand out in his mind, and they go and they stretch over his entire career. It's not like he had this prime that was only in that section when he was an all-star. His all-stars were 5 years apart. He was the year that he was a sixth man was statistically his best year, but I mean, some of his best defensive moments came later in his career. If you remember that block to seal the game against James Harden at the end of the game in the playoffs. So he has so many moments across his career. Obviously, where he humps down the bat and when the bat was loose.
A very well-rounded game. Absolutely. He could do a little bit of everything well.
Yep.
Really good.
So shout out. We'll miss Manu. He's going to be forever remembered. It's good. I like how he does it, just in a very subtle press release. Retire. He doesn't come into the year saying, "Okay, I'm going to finish out my contract. This is my last year. Let's do a retirement tour."
Let's do the rounds.
I didn't throw it on the wheel, and I was talking to Mike a little bit beforehand. The rookie poll came out where they ask rookies a bunch of questions about their own rookie class coming in. So they ask them, like, who's going to be rookie of the year, who's going to have the best career, who's the best steal of the draft, and there was a couple other good ones. Ayton was a very common name across all of the questions, but I thought it was interesting with best career. Luka Doncic was left out. He didn't get a single vote, and there was something like almost 30 players that got a vote.
And I said Toshe, it's probably because they never played with him and never really saw him play.
Yeah, they're not familiar with him. They're not like boys.
But who they picked was really interesting. It was Wendell Carter, right?
They think Wendell Carter is going to have the best career. And on the flip side of that, interesting comparison in terms of maybe not playing with him, maybe giving more of a credence to the players that they're familiar with. They gave the best defender, they gave that recognition to Javon Carter, the guard. So maybe that was more of a tip of the hat by guards voting, saying, "Hey, I have to go up this guy. He really."
Was he a first-round pick?
That's interesting.
No, he was the first pick in the second round.
Yeah, Wendell Carter could be a good player, a good serviceable player for a long time. He might not make the biggest impact. He might not be the most immediate impact, but I see him translating.
There's a lot of stars in front of him. I see it too, but
who do you think the current incoming rookie class voted as their favorite player in the NBA?
Their favorite
player in the NBA.
Kevin Durant.
I'll go Steph Curry.
Stephen Curry and Kevin Durant were tied for second, 9% of the votes each. LeBron James, 30% of the vote.
He still gets the vote.
Player.
He deserves it. LeBron deserves it.
It just shows what effect he has on
because he's a Laker, because
these kids all grew up with
exactly.
him.
It's interesting to see what type of effect he has on these guys. He's a lot of these people's favorite players. I mean, we hear from Lonzo and Kuzma, who both say, "Hey, LeBron's my favorite player in the league, and now I get to play with him." So it's.
When I was 10 years
Let's
old,
just hope
Jordan
was
was in his
prime. Hood and those guys did. Well, whatever happened in Cleveland, that doesn't happen to Kuzma.
Hood's stock is continuing to plummet, but let's get to the wheel. Let's see what we got first up.
Let's kick it up.
All right, let's get to the NCAA rule changes. So the NCAA released a press release a couple weeks ago at this point now. They tiered it into a three-pronged statement saying that they were going to be making changes and advancements in the area of basketball, enforcement, and outside voices. Those were the three areas they were hoping to improve upon. Enforcement and outside voices are less significant and have to deal more with how they're going to continue to interact with future investigations that may arise and how the nitty-gritty with that will work. So that's not really that important. What's obviously is the most notable and what was grabbing the headlines was their hopeful changes for basketball. So what they labeled the changes for basketball were flexibility for going pro and getting a degree and minimizing harmful outside influencers. The most notable changes arising from those areas are that elite high schoolers can get an agent before going to college. That if you're, one second, let me just round it all out and then we can break it down. The D1 schools will have to pay athletes for tuition and fees and books for those that return to school, because another one of their rules is that they can go to the NBA draft. Certain players can go to the NBA draft. If they don't get drafted, they can return to school afterwards and finishing out their degree where the school continue to pay for their degree. So those are the main ones, and there's random things sprinkled here and there.
If those are the main ones, I mean, that tells you everything. If those are the main ones,
as long as they let their school know by the following Monday after the draft, or something
also,
like that.
when you're talking about the evaluating the high schools, there's going to be some board or some committee that is going to classify the high school. How the hell's that going to work? They're going to actually be looking. They're going to be looking.
They're saying that it's a combination.
They're going to pick 10.
It's a combination of the NBA and USA Basketball.
Are going to decide.
And then USA Basketball.
Who the best high school players
So USA
are.
Basketball says, like, why is the NCAA continually telling us that we have to do things like this? We don't want to be involved in this. They're like, we want to wipe our hands from this whole thing, like ranking elite talent. That should be the NBA that's ranking the elite talent, but then who in the NBA gets that job?
Right.
It's funny that the NCAA is making these rules, but they're contingent on other, organizations sort of playing ball with them and like, oh yeah, sure, we'll comply with that rule that you just made. That makes us do
there's only one rule that makes a difference, and that's changing 19 to 18.
And that's not going to happen until 2021.
And that's what's kind of I read some stuff on it, went up on it. I mean, the primary purpose of the NCAA rule, their primary purpose is to judge competition between the lines and regulate recruiting and amateurism. All right, so I understand that. And a lot of times we look beyond that. We say, well, why aren't they handling these major issues like whether it's domestic violence or sexual misconduct and that stuff? Well, they want to stay out of that completely, but I think they do such a bad job of taking care of what they say they're going to take care of. I mean, why do this before the NBA even had? We're going to talk about what the NBA rules are. The NBA didn't even consider going from 19 to 18. And if they don't go from 19 to 18, everything's moot. Because
I think the changes in basketball rules that you said, with a good point, that it sort of overshadowed the other rules are because they wanted the other rules to be overshadowed. Right. I don't think they did a very good job of cleaning up what needed to be cleaned up. So they made these other kind of things, let the elite talent get agents, and then that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about how they kind of screwed up in cleaning the whole thing up.
So I think my entire theory about the whole thing is that there are 3 headline-grabbing titles that they can throw out and say, hey, this most recent season, there are a lot of issues with FBI investigations in terms of coaches and athletic organizations, athletic offices and staffings paying players, theoretically paying players to get them into their programs. And there was just dominoes were falling and left and right, and it was a complete mess. And obviously we needed to change something, so this is what we were doing to change it. But in reality, it was a complete scapegoat for them to be able to be more strict with the investigations of those specific cases when it happened. They're labeling these changes as, hey, okay, when you're coming in, you can have an agent, so you're better directed on whether or not you're going to be under the table funneled some type of money or something like that. You're going to be better directed on what is right and what is wrong with recruiting. And if you go to the draft, we're going to allow you to do that, and now you can come back. But in reality, if you read into the fine print, both of those changes are completely moot. They only rely on the NBA for when the NBA changes the one and done rule. These rules will not exist until the NBA decides to change the one and done rule, so they don't matter. So yes, the player who goes to the draft hypothetically can return to school, but that only happens if he attends the draft combine, which is only 70 players, and they have to fill out a request to, I believe it's the NBA Undergraduate Advisory Committee or something like that beforehand. So there's so many contingencies among these big headline grabbing rules that they make them completely irrelevant. And I think the biggest things are the second 2-tiered aspects of this 3-pronged announcement of rule changes, where it says basketball enforcement and outside voices, where the enforcement and outside voices aren't getting any leeway in the media because it's just so much fine print and nonsense, and it doesn't seem like anything. But all of those are focusing on investigations, making certain, forcing athletic departments to really cooperate with whoever it is, the FBI or whatever it is. Exactly. And they're forcing them to do that with these new rules, but that's not being discussed because at the headline it's saying, hey, high schoolers can have an agent now. But in reality, they cannot. And if anything, it's making it what is already going on behind closed doors that only happens in whispers, which everyone knows is occurring. But players in high school that are the elite prospects talk to agents already. They already have people on their phone that they can discuss and that they can really advise with if they're looking to make this. Exactly,
too.
they're already getting paid. But now these new changes not only are saying, hey, we're hoping to bring these to the limelight, but they're going to make the athletes that are in interaction with these agents, they're going to make those people feel more fidgety about this, and it's going to make it worse for those athletes. They're making it so agents, you have to write down and submit every single meeting that you have with a recruit and have it signed by both the recruit and the athlete. So, I mean, the recruit and the agent. So now I think that there's probably going to be less meetings. I think that they're not realizing that the repercussions of these changes that they were hoping were going to be like, hey, we're not really going to change anything about this. We're going to say that we're making it it's more okay for the players to get closer to getting representation. But in reality, they might be hurting that, while in reality, they're only helping themselves with investigation matters dealing with when problems do actually arise. So they're not fixing the problems. They're fixing the ability to punish the problems.
So the agents are a problem. They're acting like they're going to bring unscrupulous characters out of the shadows when that is not going to happen.
No, it's not.
So what are they talking about? And then I also got to point out what John Calipari said. This whole deal on guys going to the draft, not get drafted and coming back to the school.
No one's going to do it.
60 days after they've given out every scholarship. So what?
There's
Kid
going to be
comes
no
to
scholarship
Kentucky,
left.
guy goes to Kentucky and goes into the draft, doesn't get drafted. He comes back to John Calipari. Calipari goes, I've used all my scholarships.
Right.
Why does that make sense? That's stupid.
No,
it
it's
really
bad.
is.
No, I mean, they're tripping over themselves with attempting to make
Well, didn't they say
some
the
type
school
of...
would still pay, if they went back, the school would still pay their tuition and their books? And
Right, exactly.
But they wouldn't have, under the
But they wouldn't
NCAA
be able to-
rules, they would not have a scholarship with the team. They couldn't play for the team.
Right, they
Because
couldn't play for the team. They
No
could come back to
coach
the
is
school
going
and
to
they could learn
hold
the
that
team.
spot for the kid that's going to the draft.
So
the draft is
one
over.
one positive that I do see for this is something that may go through the weeds a little bit is NBA players that are one and done or go to 2 years or whatever don't finish their degree at their respective schools. Now we see a lot of athletes in their NBA career, whether it's 5 years in, whether it's after they retire, they go back to their alma mater and they finish out their degree. But at that point, they're required to pay out the rest of their time at that school. What's interesting now is because of this rule, I see no reason why that school under this stipulation wouldn't be required for that athlete to finish their degree, which I think is good.
I think
That's a good
14
positive.
years, I think I
yeah,
read
that's a
something
good
about
that's a
that.
good positive that I don't think is being discussed because it's so focused on the immediate return of a player if they don't get drafted, when in reality that's not going to happen. That's going to affect such a minuscule number of players because of the contingencies on that player attending the NBA Combine and filling out this request for the whatever it was, the NBA authority, whatever it is. So that's only going to affect maybe 5 to 10 players every year, if that.
Yeah.
I wonder
so
how many,
it's silly.
I wonder how many undrafted free agents would go back to college,
Yeah.
because they got the G League now, they've got European.
Yeah, and also you're talking somebody that didn't go in the first 30 picks. So where is that person in the beginning? At what college is a guy? If you're not in the first 30 picks, you're pretty far down the line, even in playing time on your own college team.
So what I'm expecting to see is a combination of those two things. I don't think that players are going to be going back and going to be playing for the same team again because of the full compass. Their scholarships are going to be gone. There's not going to be space on this team because of the one and done current era that we have. The spot that they leave when they go for the NBA draft is going to be filled by another 4 or 5 star recruit almost immediately. And then if they don't get drafted, there's a lot of money out there. They can make upwards of $100,000 in the G League, or they can make close to $1 million depending on their reputability in Europe and stuff like that. So I think that these players that do fall under these strict guidelines are going to go to Europe, and maybe they do go back to school just to get their degree. So maybe they can take advantage of that aspect, but they're not really solving anything. And everything just has an asterisk with it underneath it. If you go to the actual press release and you read every single fine print, everything underneath it says this rule can go through as soon as the NBA does this, as soon as USA Basketball does this, as soon as high school apparel brands do this. It's so frustrating.
And it's comical when we get to the NBA rules that the NBA is actually going through it, and they didn't even breathe 18.
Right.
You know?
Well,
it's
it's interesting. With these rules, they're making a wave in response to issues that were responded more readily, more recently. And with the NBA rules, they have a board of governors meeting every July,
and the players union.
and they bring up the two sides meet and they bring up these rules that they could potentially meet on, and then everyone votes on what rules will be voted on. It sounds silly, but these are the rules that they talk about. So I guarantee that they did talk about one and done, and they talk about all these things because it's a week-long process or something like that.
But they only came up with 3.
But they're not going to vote on that yet. That's down the line. What you hear about that is the back channeling through a Woj or through something like that, where they say, hey, maybe in 2022 is where the teams will be looking like it'll be a viable enough option where that change could happen.
They especially don't want to talk about it publicly after the Ayton issue.
Right.
I mean, their number 1 pick,
Yes.
the most prolific player in that draft, was involved with a scandal. They probably wanted to allow the NCAA to kind of
that
brush
scandal
stuff under
has
the
not
rug.
resolved in any way, shape, or
No,
form.
it hasn't at
in
all.
terms,
So the NBA is probably like, let's be wary of what we're announcing publicly and just wait for it to blow over. Nothing will happen until at least 2021.
There's something that I thought was interesting, another aspect where they were trying to minimize harmful outside influencers. The NCAA was trying to pursue an agreement with an apparel company with expectations of accountability and transparency regarding involvement in youth basketball. They expect to have an agreement with an apparel company, whether it's Adidas or Nike or one of those to that ilk, within the year. I think that's interesting because that's clearly them flipping kind of into like a battle. They're clearly going to clash with AAU and stuff like that, and that's going to be an interesting battle going head to head instead of trying to pair with them and hopefully be able to link and make a more easy transition.
AAU.
Right.
They would like everything to go back to when the high schools, when it was high school basketball and not AAU.
Right.
But that train's left the station a long time ago, and there's no turn the clock back now. It's never going to go back to high school basketball.
Well, it's really sad because I do wish that they were making changes to make that transition to AAU ball, which is so prominent now, to NCAA more smooth. But the other changes that they made are of that old mindset that high school basketball is what should be most prevalent for the players that coming into the college. We're seeing the changes in this same press release that they're going to have stricter regulations on events for high schoolers. There's going to be more rigorous certification requirements for a high school basketball event, a high school basketball tournament, a medley. So things like that, they're going to happen less often. And they're saying, oh, coaches can attend more events now because we're expanding the recruitment calendar. That hurts coaches and their ability to recruit outside of these tournaments to AAU tournaments and to other things like that. So they're trying to put an emphasis on high school centered areas where in reality they should be shifting to where all the attention is in AAU. And instead, they're battling it to a head where they're doing a bad job. The NCAA is doing a bad job.
They should take some lessons from Adam Silver and kind of and see what's progressive, see what worked. Don't be afraid of the AAU. It's there. You got to deal with it.
Yeah, it's disappointing, and obviously it was for headlines. But even if you don't know much about it, you had to read only a tiny bit into the tea leaves to realize it's a lot of fluff and not a lot of real content and real change happening. Get to it. We'll update in the future as stuff changes.
As years go by.
Yeah, as years go by and nothing happens. All right, 6 Man of the Year predictions. All right, so I had a lot of players in contention. You got to go through like every roster and look at every single roster.
I don't know. Well, you don't know who's going to be 6 man. I got 5, but I don't.
Right. I mean, I picked the top 5. So my top 5 to 1. So my 5th place, I got Dennis Schroeder. 4th place, I got Tyreek Evans. 3rd place, I got Markelle Fultz. 2nd place, I got Isaiah Thomas. And then winning the 6th Man of the Award, I got Boston Celtic, Marcus Smart.
Well, you don't have the same guys that I got.
No? Okay.
I think they're going to retire the award to Lou Williams. I mean, this guy, he's going to be 6 man. You know he's going to be 6 man in Indiana. He's not going to stop for Indiana.
In Clippers?
6 man.
In Indiana?
Yeah, isn't Lou Williams with Indiana?
No, he's with the Los Angeles Clippers.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Who did Indiana get?
Tyreek Evans.
Tyreek Evans.
He was on my list.
All right, so what I want to do is replace Williams with Tyreek Evans.
All right, then you do have more similar names.
Then I do have more similar names. But a couple of the ones that I have that I think make sense is I think Spencer Dinwiddie's going to the bench.
That's a good pick. He was a potential.
I think he could be a real good 6 man off the bench. I think Josh Hart has got some chances because I think he's going to play well with LeBron. And the way he was playing in Summer League, he may be ready to surface in terms of the type of player that complements LeBron.
I wasn't sure who to put for the Lakers 6 man, so I put the Lakers as a group when I was trying to figure out what my top 5 was, because it could be Kuzma and it could be Rondo, so I wasn't sure who.
The other one that I think is I'm all for is Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Come on, Isaiah Thomas, 6th man of the year. That would be great.
He matches that offense. Who
So
you got?
Toronto Raptors have been talking about finally putting Serge Ibaka on the
off the bench.
bench. So I think, he's probably going to still close out games because Valanciunas doesn't usually close out games. He's a fourth quarter. What's the adjective I should use?
No, miserable person. Doesn't fit modern NBA.
Miserable person. So I think he might at least get some votes. Buddy Hield, there's been a lot of talk about how he might be a future 6th man of the year.
If he doesn't start, they've been discussing starting him with Bogey, but we can see.
It's tough to do one of these.
Yeah. We don't know. We don't know how the minutes are going to break down.
Bobby Portis for Chicago.
Maybe.
And then of course I got Marcus Smart.
Or Julius Randle.
I had Julius Randle in my contention as well
he
because,
may come
but
up
again,
next.
we
But
don't
they
know.
may keep Mirotic
We don't
to
know
start
whether
lineup.
Mirotic or him will be starting at the 4.
The
But I
way
think
that
either
it
one.
It
was a
opened the
good
court
choice.
up for Davis. I think they're probably going to start Mirotic.
I picked Tyreek Evans as a dark horse all-star breakout this year.
Yeah,
so,
it's potential. It's potential.
so I don't know.
I mean, it's
but
interesting. I mean,
if he's on the bench, I like Tyreek
historically,
Evans.
the award is tailored more towards guards and more so tailored towards scoring guards, and we see that with the Jamal Crawford and the Lou Williams type who perennially win this award.
Yeah.
As we discussed previously, we saw Manu win this award. So it's interesting in terms of the player is usually a scoring guard or a guard that is high prominence that most of the time, more often than not, is in the game late in the game. So I think that's what you got to look for. And I think Isaiah Thomas is a good pick. The other names that you said, Spencer Dinwiddie is a good selection.
How about Jeremy Grant?
Okay, I think I think his scoring punch isn't going to be enough, and I think he might start the majority of games
Isaiah.
at the 4. I think he's going to start the majority of the games
Jeremy
at the 4.
Grant stepped up big time when they had injuries.
I like him. I think he could have a not a breakout year per se, but a good step up year where he fills his role very nicely, especially on the defensive end. I'm hoping that Marcus Smart is going to be such a cog in having just an incredible league best defense when he's on the floor that his difference is going to matter for a team that's already going to be at high prominence.
He'd be tough to beat.
And because I think we are probably going to be not necessarily like gypped or anything, but the Celtics organization isn't going to be represented across the MVP or the Defensive Player of the Year or the Most Improved. I think that we're going to maybe be filtered in with some subsidiary awards like Coach of the Year and 6th Man because I
I
think
know you
that
don't like him, but
our
I think
team is going to be respected a little
Celtics
bit more that way.
6-man candidate would be Marcus Morris.
Yep, maybe. Could be.
He's going to get a lot of minutes off the bench, and Smart doesn't put up the very good numbers.
You can get to it.
6th man of the year is one of the only awards where like a team or like a player can win it even if his team isn't really a contender.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild because there's no
The reason I didn't put
other awards
the reason
really
I
like
didn't
it.
put Lou Williams on my top 5 is because of the depth at guard that the Clippers do have, and because of my expectations of a step up.
He also gets starters minutes.
Exactly, he's going to start some games. He's gonna minute wise. He's
many
going to
more
be
minutes
playing
than the 6th man
probably the
usually
most
does.
minutes out of that guard set. But he has so many guards there, and he's probably, if not the best, the second best player on the team besides Tobias Harris. So I think that there's too much uncertainty there with what his role is in terms of a 6th man anymore. I think maybe he's going to be too much considered as a starter to get
Now,
that
is there like a
recognition.
comeback player of the year and a most improved player of the year?
No. Why? You have a comeback player of the year? Who's your comeback player of the year? You
Well,
can
you
just
can go-
drop it if you
Well,
want.
that's obviously going to be Gordon Hayward
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
be
okay.
mine.
Gordon Hayward, I agree.
Could never be
Major
6th man.
injury.
Yeah, Gordon Hayward, I agree. I mean,
Missed the entire season.
the NBA does not have a comeback player of the year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We already did that one, Sloan.
No, we didn't.
All right, the coach of the year.
Okay.
From 5 to 1, I have Rick Carlisle at 5. I think the Dallas
That's a
Mavericks
good one. I
are
didn't-
going
I
to
didn't
surprise
include him,
people,
but I think he's a pretty
maybe
good one.
contend for the 8 seed. I have Budenholzer at the 4. I think that the Bucks are going to be incredibly strong. They're going to implement what we've been seeing lacking from this team in the Jason Kidd and Joe Prunty era. And then some perennial candidates at 3 to 1. I have Popovich at 3. With all this turnover and new faces in the Spurs organization, I think obviously they're still going to be a playoff reputable organization. At 2, I have Quinn Snyder. I think he's going to bust into that top tier as a coach. Right now, he's probably around 5 or 6 overall. I think he's going to rise up in his ability to continue to carry this Utah team.
They just keep getting better.
Yeah,
and better.
they're going to continue to get better. They're a home court team in the playoffs, I believe, and I think that he's going to get a lot of recognition for that. Because I don't know if that team is going to have an all-star. They should. I mean, Mitchell has that recognition and that face value power, but I don't know if he's going to get there. So Snyder's going to get a lot of that respect. And as you guys both hopefully have, I have Brad Stevens
You
winning
think
Coach of the Year.
LeBron's going to get a lot of votes?
He should.
Well, I mean, he hasn't got the award yet, but I mean, you would think he's
Eventually.
in a nice position to be Coach of the Year out there in LA.
Yep.
I'll stick with my prediction last week that I think Billy Donovan's going to be a real surprise, and that team's going to be a real surprise. And I like
Thumbs
him
down,
because,
fart sound.
because I followed his career. I don't agree with you guys at all on him because I followed his career from when he was at Providence College with Rick Pitino. Everything that's happened all the way, assistant with Rick Pitino, Florida all the way
When
up.
he left
He's
Florida,
always been a
his
real
career
good coach. There's nothing wrong
a
with him
dip.
as a coach.
But he doesn't know how to make rotations, and he doesn't know how to make decisions
I'm
in
not
terms of
gonna
who
judge
plays
that.
late in the game.
I'm not gonna
You're
judge
not
that.
going to judge a huge aspect of coaching.
Nope. I'm
Okay.
I think he's a good coach, and he was. We'll see. Getting rid of what's going to go on there this year with
To
what he's
me,
got for a
they
team. I think that team's
play-
going to do well.
In my eyes,
that team's
they
gonna do well
played
because
the
of players.
same way that they would play if there was no coach on the sideline.
They've lost Durant. They've lost. I mean, they've had changes on that team. That team's been challenging the coach. It has.
I think it's because he doesn't know how to take that team and direct them in the correct manner with the correct advice and the correct coaching principles and the correct plays to fit each player. We see too heavy of an isolation style and less of a run and gun style. They lack any ATOs, any play sets in clutch time. They don't have order, and I think this year it's going to supersede the coaching because the fit is going to
I
make
think
sense
you
with
guys
the
are
player.
In the
really
last
wrong.
10 seconds of close games, we've seen the ball end up in players' hands and they don't even know why they have the ball. That should never happen, and it happened many times.
If they
last
succeed
year.
in close games, it's because of the dominance and prominence of Russell Westbrook, not because of the decision making
I
of
think you guys are wrong. I
Billy
don't know how to
Donovan.
convince you guys, but I think the guy can flat out coach.
I got
I think the guy can flat out coach, and he
Stevens.
has been able to coach. The only question in my mind is whether it goes from college to pro and whether there's something that slipped there. But the guy can flat out coach. And what you guys are talking about as far as moves at the end of the game and stuff, believe me, this guy knows his stuff.
He doesn't. It
got-
shows in the game that he doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't do. He doesn't
He's
make
got
the
it
right
all from
decisions.
Patino.
He doesn't.
The
They
guy
lost
is
a lot of
basketball-
close games
He's
last
a
year.
real smart basketball guy.
Patino is a smart coach overall, but we saw him struggle in the NBA.
I'm saying maybe it doesn't translate to the NBA. It's
sometimes
possible,
it
but
doesn't,
it's not
and I
because
don't
the
think
guy
it does
doesn't have
with
a
him.
basketball head.
Okay, he can be an intelligent basketball coach
We'll see.
overall, but be a bad NBA coach, and that's what he is.
And it's too bad Brad and Kerr are going to have such good teams because really, Steve Kerr is the same thing. Those guys they're great coaches.
I
and what
think
they got going on.
Brad is so good at shaping and molding elite talent, which Donovan I don't think can do on the NBA level. And I think Brad, he's got another
his challenge this year.
set of challenges in front of him in that he has so much talent
True.
now. He's got a plethora of good talent out there, and he's got to figure out which lines to use, which rotations to use. And I think Brad definitely seals it
I
up
think
this
Brad would
year.
have had trouble with Carmelo Anthony last
I think
year.
Dwayne Casey's going to be the runner-up. After winning it last year, he's on a new team. I think Dwayne Casey's going to do real well
I got it.
in Detroit.
I got my buck.
Oh, cool.
I do.
No,
I
I still
actually have $1 in my pocket.
I
I am paid in full.
Finally.
I think Brad Stevens' ability to coalesce this unit that we're going to have and have everyone's buy-in, I
Yes.
think, is going to be what
Look what
sets
we're
him,
talking about with
sets-
Tatum.
what sets him apart. And I mean, we
It is.
see leadership qualities leaking out from each and every player, and I think that starts at the top
Yep.
from Coach Stevens. And I think that because of that effect he has on this team, no matter what reputation each player has, no matter what individual goals these players might have, they know that it's about the team and it's about winning, and that starts at the top. with Brad
And it was
Stevens.
pretty public last year that Stevens got no votes among the coaches.
Right.
I think that's going to help him a lot.
I think it
because,
is.
you know,
I think his recognition has been mounting.
It's
and,
real.
And he's been recognized
Maybe
as
time.
a savant and a coach that is a wonder boy and a young really a prestigious rising coach in the league. And I think this is the year where it all mounts together, and I think he gets that
A lot more
recognition.
pressure this year, too.
Paired with hopefully a number one seed.
All right.
Spin it away. You really want
really
to talk
like
about
the six
you want
man.
to talk about six man nonstop. You go to the NBA rules.
NBA rules.
All right, so these aren't dramatic changes. They're just small things here and there that I think overall will probably increase the rate of play in the coming year. We're going to see the number of possessions go up a little bit. So the three
go
main
ahead,
rules. Three main rules
What you
are
just said
the clocks.
bothers me.
Clocks are going to reset The 14 seconds.
Why is that going to speed up the game?
Clocks are going to reset to 14 seconds after an
Who
offensive
cares when
rebound.
you reset it to? It doesn't. The clock's still running.
Give it a minute.
The clear path foul is going to be simplified in transition. So basically, formerly, if you were the only player between the offensive player, the defender, between the offensive player and the rim, and you fouled him as a clear path foul. Now, if there's any player above you in the pass up, you can't intentional foul to stop the fast break. It's a good play to continue to allow more fast break. And then the final one is just kind of it's a hostile act, and you can go to instant replay more readily if something very flagrant occurs. So the reason that pace is going to increase is because of rule number 1 and rule number 2 combined. The 14 seconds after reduction of shot clock, you're going to see less clearing the ball back out. More shots are going to be put up quicker. You're going to have more shot attempts because you're going to have less time to put up shot attempts. People are going to be more likely to put up a shot sooner off an offensive rebound because they have less time. And it's just like whether it dramatically affects it or not, there is going to be a small uptick in pace. It could be one possession a game. It could be a third of a possession a game, but
it might be a minimal uptick in pace, but I think it will definitely be an uptick in scoring.
Yes.
And that's good.
I think it's also.
What do you have 24 seconds for? 8 of it is to get across half court.
No.
So when you get a rebound, you're already on your side of the floor, so you don't need a full 24.
But I don't.
When you get a kick ball, they reset it to 14.
What I don't like is
so
it
why not
diminishes
reset it after the rebound?
Diminishes the value of an offensive rebound. Because late in the game, that offensive rebound should earn you 24 seconds when the clock's running down, and it shouldn't just earn you 14. Because that's one of the, I would say, the major things that you can do for a team is get an offensive rebound. And when there's a minute left in the game and you get an offensive rebound, I think that clock should tick back to 24 seconds.
Well, I think if you really need the ball, then box out and get that defensive rebound in the heat of the moment.
And to go back to increasing possessions and scoring and pace, it's going to do all that. It's just we don't know how much it will do that. We've seen this rule. The NBA is the last of the basketball leagues to adopt this rule. Adjusting the shot clock offensively to a reduced amount after an offensive rebound is already in place in FIBA, the WNBA, the G League, and the Summer League. That already happens in all 4 of those leagues.
But since does the NBA follow anybody?
Well, the reason they use their microcosm leagues, they use the Summer League, they use the G League, and they use the WNBA a lot of times as a test case for rules that they're looking to implement. Clearly, over the last season or so, they've seen something they've liked in this diminishing shot clock after an offensive rebound and the uptick of, I think it's mostly possessions. They want more possessions.
It's the dead time.
I think it's more possessions. There's going to be more scoring. I don't think it's going to be drastic. The offensive average was something like 107 or like to 110, somewhere between that range. I think you're going to see it go up by maybe 2 possessions a game, and I don't think it's going to be dramatic. It's you're not going to notice it on the screen, but you're going to say, hey, that game didn't have as many lulls, and that maybe this game was just, it's going to make it a little bit easier to watch. And I think of anything that's going to be a more strategical change that the teams will have to pay attention to. The change that we're going to notice more often is the clear path foul. We're going to see more fast break dunks. We're going to see more fast break alley-oops. We're going to see more excitement, more highlight plays on the fast break. That's what that rule is changing, and I like that rule.
Good. It's like a Zion.
Yes, that's a Zion rule. Both of them, Zion rules. These are the Zion rules.
Yeah, I think these are minimal rules.
Yeah, they're nothing crazy.
I'm not gonna make that
rule. But every year there's something that comes. I mean, last year we had the Harden rule where the sweeping through isn't allowed. I mean, every year you have small things. And
well, at least these things aren't open to interpretation like the Harden rule was.
Exactly. That was like, how were they policing it? Right.
You don't
that
have
was
to do it in preseason.
Gave it some oomph on that.
Yeah, that was a strong spin. All right, the most improved player. All right, 5-1. I have at 5. I have Chris Dunn. I have Tobias Harris at 4. I have Julius Randle at 3. I have who I picked for the award last year at 2. I have Miles Turner. And then at number 1, I have most improved player winning the award of the New York Knicks. I have Mario Hezonja.
Oh, you like him.
Oh, okay. I like that.
I agree with Miles Turner a lot.
Yeah.
You see the pictures of his body?
He's jacked.
Oh my God! What a change from last year to this year.
It was blubby.
I've always liked him in Oladipo as a pairing, and he did have a bad year last year. He only averaged 12 points a game.
No, he struggled.
He's going to be.
And we were expecting a breakout.
So I really think he can be. He's my pick too.
I think we were just a year early. We were just a year early.
I think Zach Levine's got a shot with as opposed to Chris Dunn. The one that we both like is Chetty Osman from
a good pick.
from Cleveland because he's going to get some time.
Yep.
Get a lot of
Jared
playing
Allen
time.
from Brooklyn's going to get a
that's a
lot
good
of
pick.
time. They got rid of their big guys. He's all that's left. Josh Hart could be a much improved player, possibly.
Yep.
The one that's kind of a sleeper to me is James Ennis because I think he's going to get some of that time in Houston to replace Ariza.
Yep.
You know, he's a 3-and-D player
Yep.
that I think is going to get a lot. I don't know whether his numbers are going to be good enough. But then the one that you like a lot is Malik Monk.
Oh,
he
yeah,
averaged
yeah.
20 points a game and 20 minutes a game, and now he's got Tony Parker as a mentor. I don't know whether that takes away his minutes or whatever it is, but that was the last month of the season last year. He really came on strong. So Malik Monk, he could establish what you said about him all along.
Who you got
Prove me
for
wrong
most
on him.
improved player?
Oh, geez, I haven't even thought about this one. I'm thinking the player that you mentioned from the Thunder, who
Jeremy
stepped
Grant?
up, Jeremy Grant.
Yeah, I got him down too.
Yeah, I think he'll come out of the woodwork a little bit more. He's a hard worker. I follow him on Instagram too.
Good for you.
But and like the greater players on that team really like him.
Yeah.
So
The other guy
think if
whose
he
numbers are
starts,
really
he'll be an
gonna-
MIP.
Yeah.
Take a big jump is DeJounte Murray. I mean,
Yep.
he only averaged 8.5 points a game last year.
He
but
has to take
He's
a
going
jump.
to take a big jump forward.
With this award, similar to how traditionally with the six man you see a guard that scores, with the most improved player, it's more often than not a player who in the year before was in a more stressful situation with maybe it's less minutes, maybe it's more high caliber or high usage players around him, and now those players are gone and his role's increased, and you see him take a step from role player level to borderline all-star level. So and maybe not an all-star, but perennially you usually see that. We've seen Jimmy Butler get the award. I mean, last year obviously we have Oladipo. Giannis has gotten the award before. All of these players are taking a jump from being a good starter to being an all-star level player. That's why I think we both like Miles Turner. That's why we liked him last year.
And Murray and probably Levine too.
Yeah, but I think that you don't see it get awarded to rookie and second-year players because those players are expected to take a jump anyway. And although I do agree with you with everything you're saying about Hart, Jared Allen, and Malik Monk, I love all three of those guys. I love those guys, and I do expect a jump for all three of them.
But they're expected to take a jump.
I think they're expected to take a jump, and if they don't take
point.
a most improved player level jump, it's not going to be like.
So Miles Turner's the guy.
I think it's
Yeah,
Miles
if
Turner.
not for that, I would say Jamal Murray or
Jamal
Buddy
Murray's a good
Hield.
pick. Buddy Hield, yeah. I
How
like.
about like Ilyasova?
That's no, he's not going to be good enough. He's
not gonna
been
play
established for too long.
Yeah.
I like Chetty. I
like
think Chetty's a sleeper for the award because
like saying
there's
Chetty.
no one there. There's no one there. It's just him and K-Love. He's the second. Maybe he comes out and he's the second best player.
Maybe.
What if K-Love's an all-star and he's averaging 16, 5 and 5 or something crazy like that? He could be
Chetty should be sponsored by Cheez-Its.
That's-
Chetty wants a Cheez-It.
That's crazy. That's I agree. Power spin.
God, I am struggling.
Well, you haven't got many left to get, so it's
No, you can just choose if you want. I think we got 2 of them left. 3, I guess.
let's just go. Let's go.
What do we
to
have?
MVP.
Oh yeah, let's do
schedule
MVP.
here. All right, most valuable player of the 2018-2019. Number 5, I couldn't decide, so I put Kyrie / Gordon Hayward at the number 5 in the voting. Number 4, I have Kawhi. Number 3, I have Giannis. Number 2, I have Anthony Davis. And winning the MVP for his 5th MVP award, I have LeBron James from the Los Angeles
That
Lakers.
would be significant because Michael Jordan got 5, and it seems as though maybe. But I don't think the
No
Lakers are
Warriors.
going to play good enough.
No Warriors in your top 5.
Yeah, they cancel each other out.
I think
No
Joel
Warriors
Embiid-
finished
I
in the
think-
top 3 last year.
Top 3.
I think
yeah.
Anthony
You just
Davis
named-
is such a.
You just
I mean,
named 6 people.
Anthony Davis and Giannis. That's two of the most.
It's-
Like
yeah, they're
Giannis,
poised,
you
they're
look at
poised.
his Giannis's numbers over the 4 years he's played. He's constant. Is he going to improve again?
If he wins
this year?
MVP, will you call him Giannis?
Yeah, well, that's the one I messed up on last year. So now I got him.
Last year, all the time.
Now I got him
Every
Giannis,
day.
But I'm still messing up on him a year later. So
can't get past the G.
I'm as bad as
G
Goldberg.
silent.
I'm as bad as Goldberg.
It's like Django. The
But
D
not-
is
this will
silent.
be his 6th year.
6.
Yeah.
That's hard to believe.
And he's increased every year. His
Did he
stats.
win an Did he win a most improved?
Yeah, he did.
And Anthony Davis, he's the best big in the league, and
It's so hard to bet against.
Yeah.
You would not bet against Anthony Davis. Like, there's no way you could.
I mean, I wanted him to win.
But I got 2 caveats with both those guys. If your team doesn't win 50 games, you ain't getting it.
I think those two guys need to win games.
They're going to need to win 50 games. So New Orleans and Milwaukee they're going to be challenged.
Here's a trivia
50.
question for you. What are the 2 MVPs that won despite their team being lower than a 2 seed?
Russell Westbrook.
That's an easy one.
And
the other one's a little bit further back.
What team?
I believe
Drexler.
He
wasn't ever MVP.
Spurs or Sixers.
Gervin.
80s. Moses Malone.
Moses Malone.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Moses Malone won one, and his team was like a 6 seed.
Embiid's got a shot.
I think he does have a shot. He wants to be MVP. He said
he's going to play. If he's going to play as many games as we hope he's going to play,
in the minutes, he needs
he's
the minutes.
definitely a valuable player.
I mean, if he plays 35 a game, he could legitimately get 27 and 15. Like that, those sound crazy, but that's like under his per 35 minutes. That's under his per 35 minutes so far in his career. So
Now
he
that you
plays
said
35.
Embiid, I mean, throw in Durant on that top 5 because I think he's got to be in there.
Yeah, who's your pick?
I think
Who's your pick?
Donovan Mitchell will be in the top 5.
Top 5. Whoa.
But I will take Anthony Davis. I think he's going to take over the
So
world.
we got 2 picks for Anthony Davis. I pick LeBron. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I just think that LeBron is he deserves a 5th MVP in his career, and I think because of the Lakers making the playoffs this year, and because of them being hopefully a top 6 seed, I think that his dominance is going to be so obvious that he will be deserving of the award, even though Anthony Davis is going to have a stellar year. I wouldn't be surprised if he missed maybe 10 games, maybe 12 games to
I just don't see the Lakers getting that 2 seed. I think Anthony Davis and the Pelicans can get that 2 seed.
That is a crazy statement. No way. There's no way. I mean, the Pelicans and
the Rockets are a lock.
The Pelicans and
the
the Pelicans and the Lakers are going to be right around the same area. They're both going to be somewhere between the 5 and the 8. That's where they're going to land.
If the Jazz get the 2 seed, I think that means Donovan Mitchell is a lock for top 5.
Again, I think it goes back to more to coaching in that aspect if they rise to that effect. All right, let's throw it to defensive player there.
Okay.
All right, I got 5. I got Horford. 4, I got Andre Robertson. 3, I got Kawhi. 2, I got Gobert. And winning the defensive player of the year, I have Joel Embiid.
Okay, I'm going Anthony Davis right there too.
You want him to win MVP and defensive player of the year. You think he's gonna lose his mind?
I think defensively, the 2 guys are really. I like him better than Gobert, and I like him better than Joel Embiid in the sense that he can step out. So he's a rim protector. He's 7 foot. He's a very, very good tight, but he can also step out and play away from the hoop.
Yep.
Somebody like Gobert can't do that.
No.
And realistically, you got to also look at no guy has won that award since 1996. Is that Gary Payton maybe? Who would have won it in 1996?
Gary
But
Payton won.
the big guys win it.
Could have been Kidd.
So who'd you
he never
pick?
won one.
I picked Embiid. I mean, but what you're saying is true. Both Embiid and Gobert got played off the floor in the playoffs because of their inability to defend, switch defenders and ball handlers on the
You're a
flick
better
and roll.
defender if you can do that.
I think Giannis could be in the top 5 for
Absolutely,
that discussion
absolutely.
as well.
I think he's a top 5 defender in the league, so saying he could be defensive player of the year is absolutely not.
It is going to be interesting to see what Kawhi does if he returns.
We have no clue.
If he
that's
returns
really
to
true.
100%, then of
He's-
course
it's
he's
him.
the
But
best
there's a
one.
lot. You said
It's
that,
him, it's
you
him.
know, he's kind of.
I'm not projecting him to be 100%,
But he
so that's
could
why
be.
I think he's going to be in the top 5. But
He
he's
could
not.
be.
If he's 100%, he wins
And
the
same
award.
thing with
He's the best.
MVP.
He's the best defender in the league. If he's back to 100%, he's the best defender in the league, and he's already won it twice. And we know how good a defender he is. He should have won it more than twice. And if he's back to even 90%, he should win the award. I just don't know if he's going to get that high.
Junte Murray is also a really, really good defensive guard.
Yeah,
And I think he's just going to get better and better at every facet of the game. So
I don't know
I
about
don't
that
think
one.
he is. It's possible for him to win it, but
Yeah.
I think he would definitely be top 5.
All right, let's finish it out talking about the schedule a little bit. What highlights on the schedule are you guys seeing? We got the Celtics and the Lakers. The Lakers have the most televised games, as you could predict.
Of
But
course.
teams like the Celtics and the Rockets and the 76ers are among the other leaders in the league. You see your perennial similar teams up there. We already discussed the Christmas schedule in terms of.
Well, we haven't discussed the Christmas schedule.
We didn't accept the Christmas schedule.
No, I don't even discuss because I got some
Maybe we
problems
did it
with the
when you
Christmas
weren't
schedule.
here.
I
Really?
think we
Yeah.
did
Oh, when I
briefly
wasn't here.
discuss
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah.
So
You
my
weren't
question
here.
on that was-
Give me your takes on the
Because
Christmas
we were
schedule.
Well,
excited
I'm
to
wondering,
Celtics, Sixers.
how come the Bucks and the Knicks? Did you talk? Why would
Yeah,
they be?
it's-
I know it's the market. I know
Yeah.
it, but you've got Why couldn't it be Kawhi versus the Spurs?
Because
that would be awesome.
Because they don't garner as much monetary
Yeah, but the
and
Bucks
ratings
and the
from
Knicks
Toronto.
on Christmas Day.
Well,
That's
yeah, because more
Spurs
people.
are notorious for being one of the better franchises with the lowest ratings.
But Kawhi and the Spurs, that
Yes,
would be a great
no,
one to
that game
see.
would get awful ratings. You do understand
It
that
would?
because their ratings are gauged off USA interest, not Toronto.
Okay.
The Canadian ratings don't factor in. And as Sloan says, even though the Spurs are perennially a high puncher, they don't get good ratings.
So
So
that's
this
what it
game,
is. So
more fans watch the Knicks than both
Okay,
those
and
teams.
you're probably right.
And
So that's
Giannis has a chance to just go off. That game
Okay.
is the early game. Not that many people are watching. It's a noon game.
The Knicks,
and Giannis can
without
just go for 50.
Porzingis.
Giannis can just go for 50.
Oh my
Who
God.
cares?
Well,
The NBA and fans gravitate towards
Wouldn't you rather see,
franchise
yes.
like elite talent.
Yes, there are several teams.
and
I would
Wouldn't you
rather
rather
see.
see the Rockets and the Warriors and the Lakers?
Fans want to
more?
see the people that are in all the ads and hanging on all the flyers. and stuff.
Now that's an interesting. What do you think about the Lakers playing?
I think that's an overrated game. And
Okay.
I would rather see the Rockets and the Warriors on Christmas Day.
So I think that I like that they continued the LeBron versus the Warriors. I think that that's a smart choice. This is their reconciliation for not being able to play Cavs versus Warriors. This is what they're saying. They're saying, okay,
Yeah.
well now we have a new juggernaut. We have a new team that's
a new juggernaut!
yes, in terms of marketability, in terms of fan interest,
Okay,
in terms
I'm glad
of
you said it's not in terms of
no,
quality
no,
of play.
No, in terms of what teams are judged in terms of why they get put on Christmas
Yeah,
Day.
I
The
hear
Lakers
you.
plus
I hear
LeBron
you.
are immediately go to the pinnacle of that. So
Yeah.
I think matching that and replacing what formerly was a Cleveland team with this is technically what they would usually do as a finals rematch. So I think it makes sense.
We could've
I
done- we
I
could've-
agree. I wish it was Lakers Celtics because I think that there was more history there. But I don't have
we
a problem.
We
I
could
don't
have
have
done
a problem with that.
OKC Lakers, something like that would have been a nice game to watch.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Rockets
plenty
and
of good
Warriors.
games.
Well, anyways,
I think Gordon Hayward back to Utah will be cool.
Yep,
I think
yep,
he's going to
yep.
get a huge standing O,
agree.
especially after coming back from injury.
I'd love the Celtics playing the Sixers on opening day and
And
Christmas.
so it's really interesting.
Whoa.
So there's 7 pairs of teams that are going to play each other twice on TNT throughout the season. So the Celtics and the 76ers are one of them. The Celtics and the Bucks are another one. So the Celtics obviously getting a lot of love. The Rockets and the Thunder are going to play each other twice. The Rockets and the Warriors are going to play each other twice. So don't worry, they're going to be on TV a lot. And the Rockets and the Lakers, the Warriors and the Lakers, and the Lakers and Thunder. So we're seeing these teams, those 7 teams, really going to circle each other a lot. The Bucks less so because they're only in one of those pairings. But the Thunder, Rockets, Lakers, Celtics, Warriors, those teams are over TV all over the place, and those are the 5 teams that what really the NBA can market towards and say, hey, watch these guys. This is
Yeah,
what
I
we
think
got.
the NBA really has to capitalize on that Sixers-Celtics rivalry
yes.
because
They're really trying to-
otherwise, what's going on in the East? If
trying to
you,
cultivate.
if you think
Watch
about
out for Toronto.
if you think about the possibility of eventually doing away with the Eastern and Western Conference thing, like a lot of people have talked about, that would really hurt the East Coast as far as ratings because you would have a lot of marquee games on the in the West Coast times. So they really need to drive home those Philly-Boston games.
And Toronto is getting a franchise high in televised games because of the incoming Kawhi, and they open up versus the Warriors in terms of their televised game.
But they're still not even in the 30s.
Yeah, no, they're not. I mean, there's only 3 teams in the 30s.
Crazy. The Lakers have 43.
Yeah.
Golden State 40.
Yep.
And then Boston, Houston, Philadelphia 39. And then OKC 36.
Yeah, it makes sense.
One game that'll be fun is November 21st when the Lakers play the Cavs.
Lakers, Cavs. I don't think that's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a slaughtering.
Oh, I don't think so.
My
so.
most interesting games on the schedule are Boston at Houston the 2 days after Christmas to see
Yep.
how we can stack up
Yep.
against a Western Conference former powerhouse. I think that we should be able to send a message there. And then a home split versus 2 really, really strong teams in November. November 16th and November 17th on back-to-back nights, we play Toronto and Utah in Boston. I want to see how we fare against those 2 teams back-to-back at Utah, with Utah coming to us after we play Kawhi and the Raptors.
And then we play
I'm
Toronto
hoping
again
we
on
can
the 19th.
in
of
November.
October.
No, it's November. I'm saying
Okay,
November.
okay.
Yeah.
Because
So I'm
that's
really
pretty
interested.
interesting. We play the Sixers on the 16th and then the Raptors right away on the 19th. Too. That's a good game.
What I'm seeing with the Celtics schedule is what we're playing in terms of the high-tier teams. It looks like we're front-loading those teams into our schedule. We're
Yeah.
playing a lot of these teams, the Toronto, Utah. We're playing We're playing a lot of these teams earlier on in the season. We do have a game against Golden State. I believe it's in either February or March, but most of the games against these top 5 potential projected teams are before January, before December. So maybe that can be interesting. If we can pile up some wins early in the season, we could see ourselves be able to push above 60 because of a lighter schedule in the second half of the year. And luckily, we don't have a London trip to really devise us in terms of whether or not our schedule was messed up like we did last year. But
what I was reading is like this year they're allowing for a lot more rest.
Yes.
They're not going to have as
Yes.
many back-to-backs.
They're reducing
And
back-to-backs.
for the first time in NBA history, no team will have 8 games in a 12-day stretch.
yes, they're
So
doing
that's
they're doing
good.
good. They're doing good.
Yeah, we don't want to see people like, being a healthy scratch like
One
Popovich
thing
often
good,
does.
One thing good about baseball is, if you're a fan, I'm a fan, is they play every day. It's awesome. I mean, the Red Sox are off today, as I say it, but
Yeah, they're also not
I love
running
to-
up and down, sprinting
I
up
know
and down
all
a
that,
basketball
but just as
floor.
far as a fan, you've got a game tonight, tomorrow. Sometimes it's 10 days in a row you've got games that you can plug into.
Baseball is also the only sport where you can, do something really cool, get a standing O, and then go in the clubhouse and get yourself like a Gatorade. Like right after you have a huge play, like just go and towel yourself off and get a Gatorade and sit down for a few minutes.
Right.
Like it's not the NBA.
One of the more popular days in the NBA schedule, MLK Day. I think they did an okay job in terms of the televised games that will be on the game. There's going to be, I'm pretty sure every single team plays on the day, but the ones that they chose to televise are interesting. So we have the Warriors playing the Lakers, obviously a showcase game there. We're seeing it on Christmas as well. And we're also getting Sixers and Rockets, which is a very strong game. But then they chose to have the Pelicans at the Memphis Grizzlies, which I thought was a very unusual decision. Usually we don't see the Grizzlies in a televised manner because they're not really as much of a watchable team as we have in terms of other products. So that's interesting. But
Really
they
hear their
do
name
have,
often.
they usually do have a televised game in Memphis because of their history and association with that day. So I guess it makes sense
Okay,
overall.
that makes sense. That's good.
Some
And anytime you can see Anthony Davis is all right with me.
Yep.
Absolutely.
But overall, it's going to be pretty exciting. I mean, we're going to have lots of return games. It'll be interesting to watch when the Bulls play the Bucks and for the Jabari Parker, and it'll be interesting to see with other certain teams. I think it's going to be really interesting with the finagling in the schedule. With they leave themselves space to drop games out of televised games late in the season and bring in new games in case there's some type of shifting in a team. So hypothetically, if the Timberwolves trade Jimmy Butler to the Lakers for some young players, they could move a Minnesota Lakers game that was already on the schedule into television and drop out a different game that was just less interesting if they want to showcase that. And we've seen them lean into that a little bit more in recent years because formerly they weren't willing to do that at all. So I'm hopeful for the ability to really adjust on the fly as they do for that. So I'm excited. I think it's good. I think they do a good schedule. I don't know if either of you guys listen to many podcasts, but there's one podcast where Alex Kennedy, who's a writer for Hoops Hype, I believe, is just one of many basketball websites, but he interviews 2 of the main schedule makers for the NBA, and the amount of process and thought and time that goes into actually making the schedule in terms of how they have to discuss with the WNBA teams, with concerts, with everything. They have to get every single arena's schedule, and they have to overlap it, and they have to do this, and then they have to factor in not only just what actually works in terms of logistically, but what works
San Antonio still has the circus, right?
Yes, storyline-wise. That's
interesting to me
interesting.
they do a storyline,
So-
because I would have thought that they would just, the teams play, you have a
Yeah.
schedule, you all play each other, but they are actually thinking about the Celtics and
Exactly.
76ers on opening
Yes.
night, let's match them up.
It's so complicated, and I give them so many
almost a
props.
golf.
And after listening to this podcast, the following week when I was watching the Talking Heads on ESPN and whatever channel it was, complaining about the schedule, I was like, they don't have a clue. There is so much that goes into this, and I can't be upset about the schedule anymore ever because of what goes into it. And no matter what it is, I mean, formerly you were able to be upset about, hey, our team has the most back-to-backs, but we know they're reducing those. So more and more as years go on, they're doing a better job with the schedule, and I think that reflects in what just slate they have.
It's a
moving
show.
forward.
I mean, in the end, it's all programming. It's all drama.
Yeah.
Trying to drive it up.
Before we send off, besides the Celtics, what team are you looking forward to watching most in the entire NBA?
It's right there in the East, and it's still Joel Embiid and the 76ers. I'm really intrigued to watch
You excited
those
for
guys.
Wilson Chandler on that team?
The what?
Wilson Chandler. How do you think he fits?
I think he fits off the bench. They can use some strength off the bench, but Markel Fultz is an interesting story.
course.
But just the matchup. It's Joel Embiid. I mean,
Yeah.
I love watching
he's
that guy
incredible.
play.
Yeah. he could be an MVP. Well, what about you? What's your team to watch other than the Celtics?
I'm excited for Denver. I think they're going to
Denver?
take a big leap forward. I think they're going to
You
take
like
a big
you like
step.
Isaiah Thomas off the
So
bench
you're gonna
there?
stay
I
up
do.
late.
I
You're gonna
like
stay
him
up
a
late
lot
and tune
better.
in Denver.
Yeah, I'm gonna be staying
I
up.
always stay up late anyway.
I'm staying up late a lot to watch the Lakers. My team is the Phoenix Suns. That's my team. That's outside the Celtics.
Oh, for sure.
I'm attaching myself. I find that it's easier to be an NBA fan top to bottom if you find things to like in the teams that are worse in the NBA. And I'm finding things to like
They're
in the
gonna be a
Sacramento
fun
Kings, and I'm
team.
finding things to like in the Phoenix Suns. And the Phoenix Suns are my team to watch. I love the pairing of Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton. We got to watch some Phoenix games together because I'm going to point
Yep.
out every single possession
I
that
understand.
Denver Booker plays
I
point guard.
understand.
Speaking of Arizona, rest in peace, John McCain, American legend, true
absolutely.
patriot. He's a big sports fan too. He spoke up a lot about PEDs and how they shouldn't be allowed. And, should come down hard on
he's a
players.
politician that, in this day and age, spoke his mind and didn't talk just because of what the voters want to hear, and I respect
He spoke about what he thought was right, not what he thought his party was.
And that's so
like.
rare. So rare.
All right.
be missed.
Well, that's all the time to our 2019 MVP LeBron James. My Wheelhouse for signing off. See you guys later.